All right, we're rolling out the final show of the week. Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch with me, Mike Antonellis, one of the radio and TV broadcasters of the Woo Sox. They're doing a Boo in the Woo, by the way. How about that? They're doing a Halloween theme thing at Polar Park. Polar Park in the offseason now is tons of events. A lot of teams are doing this post-COVID, trying to have revenue streams in the offseason, but I know with that ballpark, they're trying to do some cool things. Fenway should do that, right? I think people would want to see a haunted house at Fenway, and you could probably do some cool things. But anyways, if you're stopping in for the first time, thank you so much. You see the items on the side. That's what we'll talk about today. And subscribe. We had really good comments yesterday. And over 2,000 subscribers, but just good community. It's good. The more, the better. And I can tell who's new. I should keep track of all of you on a spreadsheet, right? But I can tell which people are new, because some of you, it's like I know you. It's weird. It's like a weird relationship. I feel like I'm really connected with a lot of you just from your handles, but I don't know what any of you look like, or I don't think I've met any of you, but it's awesome, the guys and gals that are on here and how much time we spend. I will say I am going to be working on the Mark Wahlberg movie as a background actor. Coming up, I'll be doing a basketball scene that they're shooting here at Assumption University. So it's a real good movie. It's an Apple movie, and I'll be working on that for a couple days. I'm excited. It's pretty cool. So I'll let you know if Mr. Wahlberg was there. I'm assuming he will be. So looking forward to that. Let's get to baseball. Nobody wants to hear all my extra stuff. What a way that the Dodgers clinched in this series, because these teams can pitch. And you're seeing the difference in postseason, something I talked about and exhausted this point. Pitching. Doesn't matter the lineups. Both teams are pretty good lineups, right? Dodgers hit 199 in that series and won it. 30 games to 1. You play differently in postseason. It's completely different. Yeah, teams struck out a lot last night, but good arms. Good staffs. And they had that walk-off ball back to the mounds last night. Andy Pages reached on an error. I was listening to that game. And that's how it ended. And the Cubs just dismantling Milwaukee at home. And they gave up just 3 hits. It's amazing how that has swung so quickly. And what has happened in those 2 games is the Cubs have scored right away. First inning. That's pretty much been game over. So we will have 2 Game 5s. This round has been exciting. Detroit at Seattle tonight. I think it's going to be a really good game. And I comment about Scooble's hittable. I know that. But this is the last thing that the Mariners had a 3-0 lead in that game. You don't. I know they're home, but this is the last guy you want to face. And how do most of you feel? For me, I don't think Seattle's going to win this. I really don't. Kirby's good, but this is a good arm, as we know. And Scooble's look good in postseason. And I think that's a lineup that can be pitched to. I like the Tigers, and I tell you what, if they advance, it will show you all of the stuff that I tried to bring to the table that we all talked about, and a lot of you co-signed on this as well. A lot of things don't matter. They don't carry over. Like none of that, them blowing a 15.5 game lead means nothing, right? They lost 5 of 6 to Cleveland. They didn't win the division. Cleveland's home. They are a game away from going to the American League Championship Series. It shows you players, they turn the page. Fans don't, which is fine. They don't have to. Players do. It's just because it's too mentally taxing. And the season can be, it can be long, and sometimes when you're too good, that it's just natural to let your foot off the gas. Now, the Tigers had issues with their bullpen. They're a streaky hitting team, but the bottom line is they have an ace, and they are a game away from going to Toronto. And that would be on Saturday. And I'm assuming Gossman will pitch for the Blue Jays, and then we'll have a Game 5 tomorrow. I like how they've split this up. So Chicago will play at Milwaukee tomorrow. Winner will go to the Dodgers, and that will happen Monday. Yep. No, so if Chicago wins, the Dodgers will go to Chicago. If Milwaukee wins, they will go to the Dodgers. That's what it's showing me. That doesn't make sense, but I've had some coffee. But that's the matchups. Good stuff, you know. Do we feel like the playoffs are going longer? I think it's definitely earlier because I know that I saw that the regular season was going longer before this. The last World Series game would be November. Wow. Yeah, November 1st. Yeah, November 1st on a Saturday. And then spring training would start 110 days after the World Series. So the guys get, right, 3 months. Those guys get that off, but it's worth it if you win. So that was good. Good stuff last night. And good round of playoff games. All right, so let's dissect that Breslow press conference as I've been doing. I made a bunch of notes, and I thought we would do this over the course of a couple of weeks. Why not? I know many of you have watched it. Some of you didn't. It's my job to watch these things, something that we all are concerned about. How to improve the defense. I'm not picking on any of you. Trust me. This is my job. Many fans of a team traditionally don't watch a ton of other games. Why would you? Now, I was a nut as a kid. And I discovered cable TV. My grandparents had it when I was about, I think this is how I got into broadcasting too. I think I was 9 or 10. I was young, really young. I remember going to my grandparents' house near Boston. And my grandmother was like, she said, you don't have to sit. A big thing when you go there, you have to sit and talk. No, go in the other room, watch TV. She was fine with that because she knew how much I love baseball. They got WOR, WPIX, WGN, TBS. So you're talking Cubs, Yankees, Mets, and Braves. That was Harry Carey, Ralph Kiner, Carey's, Phil Rizzuto, and I was, locked in. And I'm watching all these games. And I just couldn't get enough. But it's changed. My dad doesn't watch any, and I don't expect. So my point of this is, and also I watch AAA baseball for a living. The defense, the playing the game, the running, this is a problem everywhere. Now, statistically, some teams are better, as we know. Obviously, the Red Sox were not. It's where I don't agree with Cora. I know he's got the numbers under the hood, as they say. That phrase drives me nuts. Certainly there were areas where they were amazing, right? Which we know. And they were really high in saving runs. But they made as many errors as the Rockies. And the Duran drop fly ball, I don't care that it was ruled a hit. That can't happen. But a lot of this has been a decline in the game. I've seen this for years. Going back to it was like all of a sudden, one year, I'm calling games and it's like no one knows how to run the bases anymore. Line drive to first and the runner first just takes off, double play. I'm like, what's going on? So this is changed because of the amateur game, and I've asked a lot of scouts and a lot of coaches from all over. And they just said that nowadays, coming up, these kids, it's just not part of what they want to do. That has to change. You know who's one of the best base runners on the Red Sox? Is Yoshida. And I'm sure that the Japanese and how their game, and the Japanese coaches, how they teach It is relentless, and I've asked people who've played over there. The skills, the fundamentals that they teach is relentless because you lose games that way. There was a ball, I think it was in a playoff game, or might have been against the Tigers. He was at first. The ball was smoked, and instead of getting into a secondary lead, he went back to first because he knew he's only getting one base. That doesn't happen anymore. Line drive to first, just take off. Now, you could say, well, defense has been bad with some older players. Yeah, no doubt, but not with Bregman, not with Story. I know Story, I get it. I'm not going to overreact to the end. And Rafaela for young players are really good, but there's definitely an issue with this and the fact that they address this. And I'll be able to, check up on this because I'll be probably going to spring training, and I'll ask our coaches how to improve our defense. All options are on the table. Taking a look at how we develop players will enhance their defensive drills in the minors. So they're going to change a lot of things, and they have to. They have to. So I was satisfied with that because you can't put that out there either. That can't be lip service because the beat writers, they're going to be looking at this. They're going to be like hawks. And they go to spring training every year. They know what they work on. They report stuff. Oh, the Red Sox spent more time doing. There was, they call them PFPs, pitchers fielding practice. That all of a sudden years ago was something that they was lacking, and teams did that. I remember the Red Sox beat writers reporting that. They'll report this. So yes. Now listen, there are going to be players that it's not going to matter, but basic things. Big league guys should be able to do, throwing to the right bases, those kind of things. You can't just make any bad defensive player better either. So they're gonna work on that. And Cora can't. I know a lot of you want complete honesty, but he can't. Trust me in this. There's a lot of conversations internally that are completely different about players. I'm not going to name names because it's not my style. But they have different conversations internally. You can't get up on a podium and start ripping players. You'll see it, right? They never ripped Devers. They replaced them. You don't bring in Alex Bregman to play third because your third baseman is good defensively. That's not how it works. You don't put Rafaela and Abreu in the big leagues and make a commitment to him. You speak with actions, so you don't have to get up there. And I don't think Duran will survive this. And I know this hurts people. And I don't have anything against Duran. I love Jarren Duran. I think that he does a lot of great things, but he's not a good outfielder. And I don't care about 2024 runner-up and Gold Glove. It doesn't mean anything to me. He takes bad routes consistently. He's not a good outfielder, and you can't go forward with that. Left field is easy to play at Fenway. Manny played it. Think about that. Was he a liability? At times. But Duran's a bigger liability. He's got a bad arm. He's an inaccurate arm. And that has to be figured out. You cannot have a guy drop a fly ball in a playoff game. You just can't. I mean, it's the end of story. And I thought Lowe was not as great at first base as we thought. Catching spot. Why did they trade for Narvaez? Because they were, Wong, they felt was not great defensively. They fixed that. And they're going to be looking for the same at second base. Cora was a defensive guy, and you can see how they've kind of replaced, right? Like this year, Narvaez, Bregman, they kept Abreu, Rafaela. They know Anthony can play good left field. That's what they'll do. And I'm okay with that. I think Duran offensively does a lot of dynamic things. Now, things were down this year for him, but he does bring a lot to the table offensively because of his speed. But if he doesn't hit and can't play defense, it's just it doesn't work, I don't think. Not saying he can't improve, but I don't see, where there's a spot. I think it's just kind of the writing on the wall there. But this is something that I've been seeing forever that I've really wanted to see changes in defensively. And it's everywhere. I mean, I'll start keeping track of things that I see. If it continues, we see a lot of weird things in the like that we've never seen. In AAA baseball, you've got a lot of ex-big league players. So, how do we feel about first base? I don't know yet. We're all, many are writing off Casas. I don't really know his timetable. We'll find out how they feel about him. I mean, if they sign Alonso, then that's pretty much how they feel about him. And I don't know what his deal is for 25. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's just kind of looks like he's not signed for 25, according to Baseball Reference. Earliest arbitration is 2026. Okay, so he's arbitration. That's the thing. Like, what are you going to do with him? You're not going to trade him. You're not going to get anything for him. I mean, he's been hurt. You have no leverage in the deal. So it will be interesting. We'll know how they feel about him if they decide to go forward. But I am okay with them bringing in someone else. I don't think they have to go a ton of moves. I think that they can fill in a couple of things. Look at last year. They made 3 moves. A team that really coming off a year that they were 500. I think they were lucky to get 500. They just made they made a lot more moves, but they made 3 signature moves with Bregman, Crochet, and Chapman that changed their season. If they have to redo, this is how I look at it too, because this becomes a 1-year thinking thing, and I don't want to keep doing the 1-year thing. I know a lot of you do. I get that. But if you have to redo Bregman 5 years, you're going to have to do 5 to 6 for Alonso. And then if you traded for Ryan and gave him an extension, I know that a lot of you, I know it goes, well, they got the money. Yes, we know that. But that you're putting a lot of, commitments to 3 guys, which could hinder you in other areas. Like more extensions for younger guys, or there could be trades for younger. And I don't mind them getting a little younger in terms of if they go out and say that there's a first baseman they like that was at 25, 26. But it's interesting, I mean, if it was play money, of course. But do we think Casas could be Alonso? A lot of the New York people say defensively he's not great over there. I'm not. I'm fine moving on with Nathaniel Lowe. I see why teams have moved on from him. I think he's a decent player. I think he's too streaky, but I don't know. I wasn't wowed by that. Defensively, I know he's been a Gold Glove guy. I didn't think he was as good at first base as advertised, so what do we think? Or are we okay with Romy playing first base? Because I think Ref Snyder's retiring, I think. I don't know if he's going to be back. I could see him being a coach, too. I think he's going to be in the system forever. I definitely think that because he talked about retiring last year, but I think either he takes some time off. I don't think he'll coach right away, but he will be with the Red Sox forever. That's a smart guy. They really like him, so let me know your thoughts on first base. Get creative, too. We don't have to go down the road of just Alonso. Suarez is a free agent from Seattle. They could move him to first. He played a little first last year at the deadline to showcase. It's not a bad bat. Then it gives you some insurance at third base. That's what I like more. I don't love bringing in someone that can't play multiple positions either. I know it sounds a little greedy, but if you had to choose between, Suarez can play a little outfield, be a little versatile. I think that's very intriguing, this whole, and then you're dealing with Boris, with Bregman and Alonso. So, how that all works. And if you don't, it just gets interesting. Good comments from Thursday. We'll get to this one. At Lefty0741. Anthony, Crochet, Whitlock, Chapman, Narvaez, and Meyer are my 6 untouchables to be traded. I would go all out to get Ryan and Skeens for players' prospects. The Twins and Pirates would take similar packages to what Chicago got for Crochet. How do you know that, Lefty? Then sign Bregman and a big bat for first. You have 3 premier starters, strong bullpen, still have a top 10 hand lineup. You can improve the defense by at least 20 errors, and you'd have team to make a strong playoff push. Not to rain on your parade. There's no chance you're getting Ryan and Skeens for the same packages. There's just no chance. Crochet, some were even critical of that. He wasn't established like those two. Skeens is, you could argue, the top pitcher in the game. Right? I mean, Red Sox fans and Tiger fans will say no. What do you get, a sub-2 ERA? You're going to have every single team going after him. With Crochet, you didn't. Now, big league guys will have to be in that. It's going to be massive. Same with Joe Ryan, more established than Crochet. You don't have, do you really want to do that? So you want to go all out. You're going to empty your system. It sounds good on paper, right? It's, I get what you're saying. But then what? What if that doesn't work? I don't know. That's just, it sounds good. But there's no way you could do that. You're talking big league players in those deals. I don't think you'd have to give up 12 players probably. That just sounds a lot better, but no, I don't. You could sign Cease and trade for Joe Ryan. I'm surprised. I don't think Connolly Early is touchable. I think he's untouchable. I think they've already pretty much told the world that they wouldn't trade him. I mean, there's not. I hear people say, well, if you can get an improvement, I'm like, well, how do we know this kid isn't going to be really good? I mean, to me, he's untouchable. And we'll see with Tolley. But Tolley could be another Chapman at some point. At Tyler Durden -H6F. So I'm not most informed here. I just had a question for some of the fans. So Damon, Big Papi, and Ramirez, they were the trifecta of power and speed, just sheer dependability, at least when the gas was pushing in the day. If you think there's a better trifecta, especially as of lately, having kept up on the Sox, I should have put back in the day. We talked about the team. It was an all-star squad, a few more dependable 3-man. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think when you had Bogarts, Mookie, Devers, that was pretty damn good. Damon was not a great outfielder either. Didn't have a good arm. Good range. But and Ortiz and Manny were hitters. So I think you've been able to do that. I mean, that 18 team also had J.D. Martinez, right? Benintendi, Betts, and Mookie. But, I mean, Lynn, Rice, and Evans was pretty damn good if you want to combine power and speed and defense. So I don't know. I don't know in terms of Big Papi and Ramirez are Hall of Famers to me. And Damon, he's on the fringe, right? Maybe not a Hall of Famer, but a great one. But that doesn't matter. They also had Pedro Martinez on those teams. People forget that, right? I don't think people forget that, but that's a good question. But I think if you have to include defense in that, but still, even with, I don't think I would take This is the tough one. Like Mookie, Bogarts, and Devers over Damon, Big Papi, and Ramirez. I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's good. We'll let everyone react to that. That's why that comment was picked. At RLR Consulting, Bayo fatigue going down the stretch. He's not a number 2. Solid number 3 going forward. If you can build on this year's strategy of attacking the strike zone instead of nibbling. Yeah, I don't. Maybe he's not, but did he not improve this year? I think we've been a little hard on him at times, right? He's still young, and I think we at times maybe expect this unrealistic curve of development that is just going to go like this in a straight line, right? It's just going to keep going. When he first came up in 22, there were flashes, and then he struggled. Then the next year, 28 starts, he was 12-11. But last year, he had some really bad outings. He had a 4.49 ERA. His ERA was 3.35 this year. And certainly, I accept that can be misleading. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know he had some bad games and some good games. And yeah, a lot of guys get fatigue. He gave you innings. Why don't we think he could improve even more next year? I thought he did a lot of things this year that improved. Remember his whole thing about pitching during day games? That got better. I thought his mound presence was 1,000 times better. Watch that Netflix documentary. He was a mess out there. Thought he was much better this year. I thought he grew up a lot. And maybe, yeah, okay, so maybe he's not a 2. None of that really concerns me. I just want 5 starters. Crochet's 1. I don't know. Does it really matter after that? Like, say Bayo did start 2 and you brought in Cease and he was 3. What does that matter? They're still going to get as many starts. They can move them around. It's not linear, They don't pitch 1 through 5 the same every 1 through 5. It's not a computer simulation. Now, were there times to be concerned? Yeah. I thought early in the year their pitching strategy was not good for him, and then they scratched that. I thought he did a lot of, I thought there was steps going forward. Could you say that there was some steps going backwards at the end of the year? Possibly, yeah. He did get fatigued, but it happens. Have you watched the playoffs? There's tons of guys that are getting, Rodon went 2 innings the other night. It's happening. It happens. So I wouldn't let the last start be a lasting impression or that month, because I do think he took steps forward. Let's put it this way. Many of you are saying he's a 3. So you got starting pitching now, which I'm telling you is going to make this franchise so much different, because it's what they have been looking for, why that they've fell short so many times, and now you have so many options. And it to me, your offensive expectations don't have to be as high, because you can pitch and you don't have to score 5-6 runs a game. So a lot of that I'm looking forward to. Great stuff. We'll talk to you on Monday, by the way. So last show of the week. Make sure to drop your comments. Hit the subscribe on your way out. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the Patriots Sunday. Relax. Some of you have Monday off. We thank the gang at Fan Arch for sponsoring Red Sox Now. All right. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend. As always, say it with me. Go Sox.